Hello, everyone, and welcome to Writers in Tech. Today, we have a brilliant guest, one of my favorite people in the UX writing community. His full name is Balasubramanyn Meenakshisundaram. Did I get it right, Bala?
Twasila. It's the Balasubramanyn Meenakshisundaram.
Oh my
But yeah,
God.
call me Bala.
I have been knowing each other for a few years now, which is amazing. So I know you since you've been living in Berlin. Now you live in Amsterdam, doing fantastic things in UX writing. Today works as a senior content designer at Ikea. Used to work in different interesting companies from all over the globe. And today he's also running different meetup groups related to AI and the future of content design, and also mentoring people in ADP lists. Also mentored the X Academy in the past. So good stuff, man. Bala, how are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks. That's a very kind introduction.
You deserve
Awfully generous.
you deserve like 3 times more than that, man.
So,
You're doing some cool stuff. So, and before we jump right in, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you've been transitioning to the content industry
Yeah.
from engineering. You have engineering background. So,
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about yourself and about your background.
Yeah, so I'm from India. I'm from a city called Chennai, which is the south of India. Like any middle class Indian kid, I studied engineering and then I went on to pursue my master's in engineering in the US. And then around that time is when I also, in between these two events, I also had like a brief stint working as an engineer for like a year and a half. And then while I was working on my master's, is when I actually realized that I'm not a very good engineer. That my heart does not lie with coding. There are some people, like the engineers I see, they really enjoy it. They get joy out of it, and I was not one of those people. Yes, I could code, but then I was not enjoying it. I was also not particularly good at it. So, and around this time is when I also started was already working at the university's newspaper. I was doing covering campus news for them and writing opinion pieces and whatnot. So, and this was something that I was receiving very good feedback on, and I figured it's also something I enjoy. So I thought maybe writing is where my calling is. So I figured I'll take that as a career, and that's how the whole thing started. So when I went back home to India after my master's, I started out at this very tiny digital marketing agency doing ad copy for LinkedIn ads and Facebook ads. I don't know if people do that anymore, but yeah, that's where I started. It's probably all automated by now.
Completely automated, not completely automated.
Yes. So that's where it started. I was also doing like blog posts and things like that. And then I thought this is something that I can do. It's it's very monotonous and very formulaic work. So I figured it's something that I can do in my free time. And and I also wanted to like carve a niche for myself because India is a very big job market and there's always more people looking for jobs than there are available. And I wanted to make myself kind of like indispensable for the company. So that's also when I came across this opportunity where this one company, ATL, was hiring entry-level technical writers. And the requirements were very basic. They wanted good English. They wanted understanding of technology. And I figured I had both. So I applied and got the job. And that's where my writing journey, like official writing in tech journey, officially started, like about 15 years ago. So yeah.
Are you happy with the career path that you chose from, being on the more technical side? Obviously, you said that it's not giving you joy, but maybe there is some more, some people feel a bit more secure to do this kind of stuff than,
Yeah.
writers right now that we had in UX specifically like layoffs, and AI is writing and generating content right now. And in tech, most developers maybe they feel a bit more secured, even though you can also code with AI today. So nobody's safe actually. But what do you feel about like doing this change? Are you looking back? Are you happy with this change?
I'm definitely very happy. I understand that with AI, there has been a lot of it's like this blade dangling over our necks more often than not. But the way I see it, I feel like AI is much better at writing code than doing content design, at least at the moment. So I see, I'm working with data engineers, so we're like where we kind of build custom LLMs for various things within Ikea, and the engineers they almost always go back and check. Like they use AI more freely to check their work or to generate a snippet of code than I could to generate a prompt that would be tuned to the specific kind of outcome in terms of content that we are looking for. So in that sense, I think it's more about figuring out how to coexist with AI and kind of growing in parallel rather than trying to one up each other, because you're never going to compete with the machine. That's a different story. But then it's about trying to embrace the change and becoming a part of it.
And
Yeah. But yeah, looking back, so just summarize also, like looking back, I don't have any regrets with my career choices, especially because I don't feel like, I'm going in to, if I were, sometimes I look back and I think if I were to be an engineer now, I would have probably not been very happy. But here now, this is something I can just wake up and do. I don't need to prepare myself mentally, or this is something I feel like it comes to me more naturally than engineering did. So in that way, it doesn't feel like a job. I mean, yes, it is a job, but it's not something that I need to put more of myself into. I can just kind of naturally do it, and that gives me a kind of like a certain level of peace in my everyday life, which I also have come to value.
said that the few projects you've been involved are related to building custom LLMs for the company you work for. So, how do you feel like our job as UX writers, content designers, even changed now that we're implementing AI solutions with data engineers?
This is inevitable. Like back in the day when I was a tech writer, I was already doing content design, and that time in India, content design was not even a field, right? So I was doing UX writing. I was helping my designers with microcopy on the designs that they were building, but I was just doing it as a tech writer because I did not know that there was a role that called UX writing which specializes in this field. And then now it's like exploding all over the world, especially in India. I'm seeing more and more jobs opening up in UX writing. Well, the market overall is kind of dull globally, but that aside.
Yeah.
So this evolution of embracing AI is just, I think, like the next step, or kind of like a logical progression from where we were. It is definitely interesting to compare the work that I do as by myself as like an individual contributor versus when I leverage AI. And also, I'm also seeing the overlap in how my skills, when I, as an individual contributor, inform and influence how the LLM is built as well. I think we as writers are indispensable for building any good large language model. So I don't think they can be built without our inputs and our contributions. And I think that's where we should position ourselves as like that key player or the key contributor towards the betterment or the development of and adoption of LLM within our spheres of influence.
So, people might ask, wait, LLMs, I'm confused, what it is? So I would say large language models. And I would say that ChatGPT or GPT or OpenAI have their own LLM, right? That's their own large language model. And company named Claude have their own LLM. Facebook have their own LLM, that's Llama, and Google have their own LLM, which is Gemini. So why do we need to contribute into building LLMs in a world where there are already quite I just like good enough LLMs for a lot of different use cases?
Okay, so one big reason for contributing towards LLMs is because we are not going to be using, like you said, any of these solutions that are available out there as is, because then there's going to be a lot of, obviously LLMs run on huge amounts of data, and most of the times the data that you're using for your particular case is also very proprietary to your business, and businesses do not want that data to be freely available for everyone in the world. And
Right.
that's one of the main reasons people like enterprises go for custom LLM solutions, where they create an instance or they purchase an instance from, for example, OpenAI, and build a local version of ChatGPT within their organization based on their specific parameters, tuned it to their specific needs, using their proprietary custom data. Also, this means that, the cases themselves are very unique to the kind of business you are working in. So that's also why your business knowledge, along with your writing expertise, both come in handy to towards building that LLM in a way that it functions uh, ideally for your case.
Do you have examples of like tailor-made LLM solutions in different organizations? And I sometimes I call it like RAG applications, like retrieval augmented generation applications,
Mhm.
like apps that you've built on top of a database, and then like query it using like maybe an existing LLM and close it so it will be like secured in a way. The same
Mhm.
if you work in a hospital. You don't want to feed the AI with all of
Yeah.
the data points of all of the people in the hospital. So you want to build some kind of a secured solution. So
Mhm.
what type of tailor-made AI LLM solutions are you familiar with?
I'm only familiar with the ones that we are working on, and most of these have to do with like using and leveraging customer data. So that's also one of the reasons why we want to keep them in house and make it our own custom solution. And also the data set itself, I think, from an IKEA perspective, is very complex.
Yeah.
Um, so that's another reason why we also need these custom LLMs instead of trying to figure it out with like a generic model. So yeah, but I don't have any like specific names to call out at this moment.
Leveraging customers' data and that makes sense because
Yeah.
you have so many data points, and
Mhm.
when you don't want it, for example, to hallucinate when you use
Yes,
so
exactly. Yeah.
that, and if you don't build a tailor-made solution, it tends to just say bullshit
Yeah.
that you can't rely on.
Yes.
And if it's
Yeah.
say bullshit that you can rely on, it's not useful.
Exactly.
So what type of like so connecting what you know about business and about technology as a writer,
Mhm.
what kind of like building these type of solutions? What are great know-hows that you have right now based on your experience? Like how do you design them so they will be user friendly? How do you iterate them so they would make sense? Any like know-hows and best practices about even prompt engineering or prompt design or prompt writing, whatever you decide to call it?
I wouldn't claim to be an expert, so I don't want to call them like know-hows. But the way
Yeah,
I
like
approach
your
these
know-hows.
approach building these prompts are like, if you were praying to an entity up there. So when I was a kid, when I used to pray a lot, I used to try and ask for something in a way that I was closing all the loopholes, to make sure that I get what I want from God or whatever.
Right.
So I take a very similar approach to training, to asking when I create my prompts as well. So that's like a very layman's explanation, but I mean that's the best I know because that's basically all I try to do. Um, and also a lot of the foundational work comes from, you know, or something that my team gets repeatedly asked to do is there's probably a bunch of data scientists who built an LLM, but then they don't know how to train it to speak in our company's brand voice and tone. So that's a very big area where we pitch in and help, and we can we come up with a set of instructions for the LLM, is do's and don'ts. Like we basically, if you think about any writing style guide, I remember the Mailchimp has one of these. So they basically have a TLDR version of their style guide, right?
Yeah.
So that TLDR version is basically a prompt ready to be used into an LLM to train for that LLM to write in my MailChimp's voice and tone, for example. So it's basically a set of very fundamental do's and don'ts that you put together, and that instruction set becomes like the cornerstone on which your LLM bases its responses and learns from. So
And also, if it's like really tailor made, you could even not fill it with the TLDR, but like the whole thing, and it would.
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, there's also that's where the experimentation that you mentioned about comes into play. Like how much information is too much information to the LLM as well. So there's also that fine line that we're trying to the borders between sanity and insanity. We're trying to still figure that out, and the border varies with every LLM you build and every scenario you're trying to apply it to. So they're very unique to the circumstances. So it involves a lot of trial and error and playing around with the prompts and basically having fun with it. And sometimes something will click, and then you'll realize, okay, now I got it.
Do you think that there is like a godlike attribute into like when it comes to AI? Like if we prompt it like we would pray to God?
Oh no. It's just I think it's just the closest analogy I could come up with. Like personally, from my experience, this is how I'd approach it.
Just
So,
a philosophical,
yes.
you know.
Maybe there is. I don't know.
Thank you for tuning in to the Writers in Tech podcast brought to you by the UX Writing Hub. The UX Writing Hub is a company that is helping writers in tech to thrive. We teach, educate about UX writing, content design, conversation design, UX content, and anything in between. We currently offer a free UX writing course on our website, so feel free to check it out. And whenever you're ready, and if you want to get into the field of UX writing, you can check our UX Writing Academy. In addition to that, we plan to do some cool stuff in the future. We have monthly live events. So join our community, follow the newsletter, listen to our episodes, and I'll see you in our podcast, Writers in Tech. Thank you for tuning in. Bye. And that's fascinating. That's really cool. I know that you've been involved lately in building a very big community about the future of content.
Oh yeah, that's very exciting work. So it was started by about a year or so ago. 5 of us got together, like myself, Claudia, Larry Swanson, whom you might know, and Kelly Chambers from Booking as well, and also Jamie, who's also from Booking. So we were talking. I don't know how the chronology is a little lost on it, but I think I was talking to Larry, and at the same time, Claudia was talking to Larry. I've been connected with Larry for a few years now because he was like very big in the tech writing scene way back when I started authoring and whatnot. So he's like like Yoda when it comes to structured content. So and when I realized that he had moved to Amsterdam, I was like, dude, we should totally hang out. And then we met up, and we started talking about things that we found interesting, or we were talking about the future of content, and that's how kind of this idea formed. And around the same time, I think Larry was also talking to Claudia, who also had similar ideas, and then we kind of got together and put this community into place, and it's been very interesting. So we've had 3 events so far. It was what we planned as well. We wanted to have 3 speaker events within a span of a year, and we achieved that already. And the goal was to address topics that are at the intersection of content and technology. Then these are the kind of topics that we'll see driving the future of content. So hence the future of content. So the first one was around structured content, and it was hosted at Ikea here in Amsterdam. And then the second event was around generative AI, and Booking had a very great case study on that. So we hosted that event there. Chris Cameron gave his talk about how he built his booking assistant solution that they have. And then the third event was recently concluded. We had incredible speakers as well, people like from technology, from product, from content. We also had an ethicist as part of the panel. So we thought it was a very well-rounded panel, and it sparked some really fun discussions around the presentation and the future of personalization itself as well, and where it is, how it started, where it's going, what are the ethical concerns, and um, things like that. So it was a very fun discussion. So for now, I think we're taking a winter break, but hopefully we can continue, bringing more such or starting more discussions around topics like these in the years to come as well. I mean,
Very,
we're
very.
looking closely forward next year. So yeah,
I'd love to come to one of your events.
totally. You're very welcome.
Nice.
It'll be great. Yeah.
People need to know it's like the people that are organizing these events in Amsterdam are like the international leaders of content design. If you ask me, it's like Larry, the content strategy podcast. You have the AI and writing podcast.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was
Oh,
a
yeah.
guest in his podcast. He was a guest in my podcast. I love his work for like maybe almost a decade now. And Kelly from Booking, I believe she's like the first writer at Booking or
Yes.
something. He used to work there for like many years. She had literally like almost invented the field of UX writing, if you ask me. Like people that worked at Kelly talk about her very, very highly. Booking.com is extremely innovative when it comes to, setting up UX writing processes and so on. And Jamie is like the accessibility dude of Booking, right?
Yeah, she's a principal content designer. Yeah.
Principal content designer also is like very talented and professional when it comes to accessibility, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yourself, which we know about you, your work. We've mentioned it. It goes without saying.
Yeah.
So these guys and gals are running this, and Claudia also, and they've been running fantastic events in Amsterdam. You should live stream them to the world. A lot of people in the
We did hope to have like a YouTube channel. I think we still have it, but we've just been a little lazy on uploading the videos. And live streaming was like a rather conscious decision. So because we wanted the content community here in the Netherlands to come together in person. So that's one of the reasons we're kind of still on the fence about doing live streams. And also it also comes with its own technical challenges because a lot of our venues may or may not have the option to live stream. So then that becomes another hurdle we have to cross. And like you mentioned yourself, like these are very busy people. Like Larry is like doing a 20 million podcast every month. And then you have Kelly, who's running an entire department, and Claudia, who just also started um, managing the content design practice at Trusted Shops. So everybody's busy. So we try to do the best we can with the time we have available. So yeah, that's the thing. But yes, we will definitely at least try to post the videos online so people can watch, which we already do. We also have our own LinkedIn page, Future of Content. If people are interested, they can just follow us and get all the updates on there. You should too, if you're not already, so then you'll know when to come to Amsterdam next.
I'm there. If you need help, like producing content, publishing it, partnering up, the UX writing, I would love to partner up with you.
That's great.
And to be a guest in your events as well. That would be awesome.
Love it. Yeah, let's do it.
You talked about it briefly, and I'm curious to know your take about what do you think is the current landscape of the market of writers in tech, UX writers, content designers, so on, and where do you think we're heading? So, like, what's next for us?
Two things. One is that I think we're slowly climbing out of that lull that we have been in for the past couple of years in terms of, like in terms of the job market. I'm slowly starting to see more and more roles open up, both in tech writing and in content design. So that's a very promising sign. And I think in the coming months, it's only gonna get better. And second, I think it's all about, AI is the biggest talking point at this moment for any of us looking for a job in any field, I think,
Right.
So one of the biggest points to keep in mind will probably also be being open to that and maybe embracing it, like I had mentioned earlier, and trying to learn and figure out ways how to coexist with it rather than, try and one up it or go the other end of the spectrum and be like completely ignore it or refuse it. I know there's a lot of talk about, like T-shaped profiles and this and that. Ultimately, I think it boils down to being the perfect candidate or the perfect match for a specific role that you're applying to, and that could be us, that could be somebody else. We would never know until until we land the job, and when we do, we can be sure that it was a job that was for us. There's also, yes, there's still a lot of competition. I know, like you mentioned earlier, I think we're still feeling the effects of all those mass layoffs in the UX within the UX community, and especially also UX writing. So, which also means that the competition is going to be a little high when we're applying for jobs. Maybe take more care into how we present ourselves, how we do the little things right, like building a resume that stands out, and building a strong portfolio. Like a lot of people, and myself included, my portfolio is horrible. I can guarantee you, but I have done so much work, but my portfolio does not reflect it. So I have an inherent problem building a strong portfolio, and I think a lot of people may have similar issues because it comes down to what we think is good work, or at least for me, that's how it is. And to me, everything I do is just work. And it's nothing spectacular. It's just work, you know. But the fact that we did it and the fact that it's out there, being used by millions of people, is in itself spectacular. And I think we should start by taking pride in what we have done and then exhibiting it to the world with like a touch of humility in our portfolio. So that will, I think, make our work come across as it actually is, the strong work that it is, rather than something diluted or borrowed.
But the field right now is so, as you said, it's so competitive. So for
It's
people,
very competitive.
for
Yeah.
people that are a bit discouraged right now because they need to compete with people that have the experience working at, like, I don't know, Meta, Shopify, whatever, or any other company, and now they're competing. So they even like considering, should I even like go into this field, or should I transition to this field, or should I
Mhm.
maybe transition to another field from UX writing because I can't get a job? So what do you think about that?
It depends. So yes, it's like I mentioned, it's definitely going to be a competitive market, but at the same time, just because somebody has more experience does not make them a better fit to that role than you are. For example, it boils down to it matches the needs matching what you're offering, and that may be better with somebody with slightly less experience, or whatever be the case. So nobody should ever be discouraged to apply to a role if they think they are a good fit for it. Just because, just for the fear of having to compete with somebody else. That's not how anything in life works, I think. So I think we should definitely always take a chance and apply. It's nothing lost. And then what shakes, shakes. And as for career transitions, it's more personal. Like I would never, because first of all, I don't think I'll be good at anything else.
Yeah.
And secondly, uh, I'm happy here. This is my happy place. So, and I don't want to leave it. I'm like adamant. I will probably cry and like hold on, tie myself to something or something like that if I have to stay in this field, if that's what I need to do. Um, but if there are people who see their interests like branching out as well, or if they see their knowledge growing, and because of the scope of what they understand, how they operate, expanding. So maybe content designers can move into product, for example. I think it's a very good transition for content designers to keep in mind, because we are in a lot of ways product managers, in the kind of like softwares that we bring to the job. So a lot of stakeholder management, and trying to understand the problem, trying to zoom out and seeing the bigger picture. These are all the kinds of things that product owners or product managers do on an everyday basis, and they need to have this vision of how everything connects and comes together. And that's exactly how we also operate, and that's exactly something that we need to do our job well as well. So yeah, just if needed, maybe something moving to products, or if they find themselves being more visual, then maybe move into a design role. I would not discourage anybody from doing that either, but I think it's a deeply personal choice and what people think is best for them.
I couldn't agree more, because sometimes you have to when and when this is something that it's like what you want to do,
Yeah.
all you have to do is to burn the ships and just say, okay, that's my only choice right now, and I have
Yeah.
to go big or go home and just do whatever I can in order to get a job. Do you have like tips to be like more employable as a content designer, UX writer? Like, what type of extra miles could I take in order to get that job? Or once I decided, okay, UX writing, this is for me.
Mhm.
I'm not going to any other field. This is what I'm supposed to do, but I need to get a paycheck. So I'm going to hustle my way into finding a paid gig right now, or like
Mhm.
a UX writing job, content
Right.
design job. So what type of like extra mile activities slash
There's
what could make me more employable to this field?
right. Uh, I mean, always it's like a catch-22 because everybody wants more experience, but then unless you have a job, you don't have the experience. So you're like caught in this vicious cycle. One way to break that cycle is to try and find more like freelance gigs. That's one way to A, gain industry experience, and B, also build a stronger portfolio. And then definitely network in a constructive way. Because the world is big and the tech community is giant, but as we've just, uh, you know, kind of figured out, the content community is tiny.
Yeah.
And the more people we know, the better our chances are of, like breaking into the field or finding that job that nobody heard about. And somebody who knew somebody will let you know. And then you'll be like, you know, I'll apply. Or maybe you can ask this person whom you're friends with to be like, hey, would you mind giving me a recommendation or referring me to that position? So, but again, network constructively in the sense that, not to sending blanket invitations to everybody in the fields, but people who are at least second degree connections, I would say, and also people who are in the companies that we aspire to work with in the future. um, and also people who are doing interesting work in the lines that we want to pursue ourselves. For example, if somebody's interested in working with AI more, find people who are doing that already and connect with them so that then you have a chance to learn from them and also become part of their circle and their community so that when something opens up, they may think about you. So these are two things that come to my mind off the top of my head, like networking, and I'm very big on networking. And
People underestimate the power of networking.
oh God, yes. Yeah. There's always like maybe I'll add a couple more things. One is to always be hungry to learn more and also be humble. So approach everything from a perspective of, I mean, there's a very thin line between, okay, I want to learn more, and saying, okay, I know nothing. I'm not gonna say I know nothing. I'm gonna say I want to learn more. So that's the attitude I want to carry into every conversation I have or every job I take up.
The things I
And
thought about
yeah.
when you talked about it is like, the UX writing hub, as the like demand for UX writing shrank, also the demand for UX writing
Mhm.
training shrank as well.
Mhm.
And, being, first of all, trying my best to be humble and trying my best to learn more and to
Mhm.
be there and to network where I can from a learner point of view,
Mhm.
open the door for me and for my small team to find some actual projects,
Oh, nice.
to keep my head above the water in very
Yeah.
tough time. And that's what I thought about when you talked. I think it's
Yeah.
other tips are also for not for beginners, for everyone.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, and I think there are no. I would never say anything that would apply just to beginners or just for senior people. I think we're all human beings, and from that point of view, we all kind of share the same value. So it's not like one person is more valuable than the other. So when we approach something, we should also come with that same mindset, and with the same level of groundedness, no matter how beginner or how advanced you are in your career. And that's also ultimately what will take you forward and further in your path eventually. So yeah. Yeah, because you mentioned UX Writing Hub. Oh, that's another thing that people can do is take mentorship, ask for guidance and ask for help, because that's a great way to learn something without having to go through the pains of it yourself. Just learn from somebody else's pain or somebody else's experience and see what aspects of that learning you can assimilate into your own life. And that's definitely going to be very helpful for people out there. And this is, again, for something that applies across the board for people at every stage of their career. There's always some mentorship to be had and also some mentorship to be given. So if you're interested, also spread the love, share your knowledge, share your journey, help somebody else in theirs.
When the way I decide to choose mentors is when I need someone to mentor me, is I just look up to someone that is in a career position that I would like to have. Like, I'm looking at Bala and I'm like, I want to be one day, working in the product team of IKEA with data scientists. And I want to learn from this guy right now.
Mhm.
So I would like reach out on LinkedIn. I know that our community is tiny, as you said, but it's very, very kind. So probably I would
Oh,
get
yeah,
reach
definitely.
to Bala,
Yeah.
answer and be like, let's hang out, let's meet.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Our community is very generous, also very giving. Like a lot of these senior people, senior like stalwarts of our community, they're like also so big on mentorship and so big on, be guiding you and being there for you. Like one person that comes to mind is Mario. He's just like this amazingly cool dude who's always available for you anytime you have any question with anything. And he's also very big on community and building, like that sense of social togetherness within our content peeps. It's just great. It's very heartwarming to see as well. So yeah, there are a lot of people out there, most of whom are very kind and very giving. So all we have to do is just reach out, take the time, reach out, and we'll definitely get answers and good help.
Awesome. Bala, it was a pleasure to have you here today in the Writers in Tech podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for having me here. I felt like, yeah, we just talked for 40 minutes and I did not realize it because it felt like it was a very nice conversation. Yuval, thank you for having me here. I also want to thank you because I know that I do a lot of mentoring on ADP list and that we have our own ADP list Amsterdam chapter and whatnot. But I think all my entire mentorship journey started with the UX Writing Academy when I was mentoring the cohorts and with their assignments and giving feedback on their work. So that's where my mentorship path started all those years ago. That also goes back to how long we've known each other. So in a way, you are also responsible for any of the work that I'm doing here now. So thank you so much for giving me that opportunity, which then led me to pursue mentorship in other channels and whatnot, bringing me to where I am today. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Any mentor of the UX Writing Academy, past and present, are my friends, and they're super happy to have you. You always have a warm and good place in my heart, man.
Thank you so much, Yuval. It was so nice catching up with you.
Yeah, you too. And thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Writers in Tech, brought to you by the UX Writing Hub. My name is Yuval Keshtecher, the founder of the UX Writing Hub. We're planning to produce a conference by the 10th of March, which is my birthday, where we will create some kind of an affordable get together fully online with the best people, sharing an actual practical UX writing use cases that moved the needle in their companies. So we're trying to do something a bit different. And that's about it. See you next time. Thank you, Bala. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye bye.